You might be pre and post styling incorrectly. And yes, I know, how could that be the case? Pre and post styling is fairly simple. I'm not actually talking about the techniques you're using. I'm sure you're doing that perfectly. What I'm talking about today is actually the combination of products that you're using to pre and post style. Allow me to provide some context. See, recently I was having a conversation with someone about a problem that they were having with a combination of products that they were using. Basically, the combination wasn't providing the stuff that they were looking for. You see, they said their goal was increased hold, increased texture, matte finish, very easy stuff, very easy stuff. When I looked at the two products they were talking about, however, I noticed that their pre-styler was pretty spot on, but their post-styler was the problem. You see, it was a big, thick, heavy product, and it was essentially just crushing all of the effects the pre-styler was bringing to the table. So after going ahead and just swapping out the post-styler, things ended up much better, and it really got me thinking about it. Like, I wonder how many people are having this issue. I wonder who else might be wondering about this. Hence today's video, where I have a few tips. The first one being, keep your goals in mind. In other words, your products should reflect your goals. If your goals include wanting just straight up hold, for example, you can focus on products that provide that and not so much ones that are big on texture or volume. And it doesn't have to be that. Of course, you can focus on ones that provide more texture or more volume, or you can even look at a combination of hold and texture. I mean, we could really go down a rabbit hole with this. I'm trying to just keep it simple so I can get my point across here. There's really so many different products that you can choose from, and so many different avenues you can take. I mean, really, just looking at hold alone, we could make a list probably a mile long of hold amplifiers by itself. I did, though, set aside a few to offer you guys here, ones that really focus on hold. If we're just looking at the avenue of hold, I set aside a few that I use probably the most in my personal time. The first is my own Dauntless foam. This is the one that I use probably the most since it came out. It's designed for just great helpings of strength in the hair. It's quick, it's easy to use, and it's easily used with something else like a softener or any post styler that you want. Another option too is Original by Blumon. You guys know I use that a ton. It's fantastic in this space, and it too works with pretty much anything. A third option could be the Bivolane Sidekick Spray. This is a classic for me. I've been using it for years. It's got great hold. It works with pretty much anything, and I want to be clear, as I named off those three, that these are not the only ones that I like. These are not the only ones that work either. There are so many products out there that I love. This is just a few. This is just three for the sake of time, pretty much. I don't have time to just sit here naming off products. We do have to keep things rolling in the video, which brings me to my next tip, which is know the what and when. And what the hell does that mean? Well, let me go ahead and tell you, we just talked about it. We just talked about keeping the goals in mind. So now we're basically taking that and we're putting it into action. The what and when is essentially knowing what to use, when to use it, and when not to. Like we talked about a second ago, the example that inspired today's video. Knowing when your post styler may be working against you is a big part of this tip. If you are wanting volume and texture, for example, don't bring in something that will just pin that down or smash it all down with its hold or its presentation. A real thick product really just weigh your hair down. On the other hand, if getting a ton of hold and keeping things locked in is your goal, which is actually the most requested thing that I see from viewers, they message me or they comment or something, and they say, recommend me a combination that is good and strong and long lasting. They want something with a lot of power and a lot of presence in the hair. If that's something that you're looking for, something like the Cavalier Clay from Blumon is a really great choice. I don't need to go into that too much. I've talked about it a ton in the past, but it's a really great choice. Another choice could be my own Heavy Clay from the Dauntless lineup. That's another option for you. It works very similarly to the Cavalier Clay. That will work as well. And again, there are so many others out there, but knowing the difference between helping and hurting you is the real name of the game here when it comes to products like this. Of course, another portion of this game is identifying when you have achieved your goal. Let me go ahead and explain one more time. So many people come to me and they say, oh, I used this post styler. I used this post styler you recommended, or I used one my friend used, or I saw it in a video and I didn't get the result that I wanted. Can you help me out? When I ask further questions, when I try to dig deeper into what happened here, they a lot of the time say everything was perfectly fine after pre-styling, but the post styler made it all completely different. Not just because it's, it's that same instance where it smashed everything's down. Post stylers can affect things in very different ways. You know, it can affect the shine, or it can increase the texture, or even take the texture away, or, you know, it can do a bunch of different things. So it's not just about weighing it down. There's a bunch of different things that it can do. And in those instances, you might want to consider if post styling is even necessary. You know, post styling is not mandatory. You know, none of this is mandatory. You know, it's your hair and it's your style. So look, listen to it, observe what it's doing. You know, there are no rules. I've had people even say that to me. I thought I had to post style, or I thought I had to pre-style. I don't know who's writing the rule book here, but there are no rules. You don't have to do anything. I mean, you don't even got to listen to me, quite honestly. You don't got to do anything I say. I'm just here trying to help. I'm just a nobody from Nebraska. But my point here is, if you get what you want from pre-styling and you feel like it's in a really good place, maybe you don't need to use a pre-styler, and, you know, try not using one. You know, experiment a little bit. I've actually done that a lot, especially since I've cut my hair short. And depending on the pre-styler, you know, it's definitely possible to nail the style without the extra step. I think that's pretty much it, though. This has gone on way longer than I wanted it to. I did try to just, you know, be specific with my tips and try to make it short, but I'm doing it right now where I just start rambling and the train just keeps on moving. I did also try to sit down and come up with a list of products that I felt matched up pretty well, you know, like, oh, use this combo for hold and this one for texture, this one for volume. But what I noticed when I started doing that was there was too many gray areas with different products. You know, like some work for this and this, or some may work for this but not this, and you know, you're crossing over, you're taking this, you're carrying the one, and this next thing you know, I'm getting a nosebleed. So I was like, you know what, let's just not do that. Let's just say there are a ton of combinations out there. There's a ton. Don't feel like you're tied to one brand. Don't feel like you're tied to one thing. Experiment, find some stuff. If you do want to check out any of the products, though, that I mentioned in today's video, of course, I would highly recommend all of those. That's why I talked about them. You can find links and any possible discounts in the description there. I highly recommend you check those out. Watch previous videos. I've done a ton of stuff on combinations that might give you at least a good place to start. Feel free to also hit me up in the comment section. I really love hearing from you guys, and I'm happy to help where I can. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today and watching this episode. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.